Welcome to the Cycling in Alignment podcast, an examination of cycling as a practice and dialogue about the integration of sport in right relationship to your life.
Greetings and salutations, Space Monkeys. Before we begin our episode, a brief reminder that this podcast depends on support from the audience. The reason I am able to continue with this project is because of the support of patrons. If you are a member of my audience and you feel I have offered you insight or added value to your cycling journey, please consider a visit to my website, colbypierce.com, where you can make a contribution to the Cycling in Alignment podcast. You can support the show for as little as $8 for a one-time contribution, or choose to subscribe as an ongoing member. Thank you for your consideration. Here's your reminder to think critically, act intuitively, and pedal consciously. Hello there, Space Monkeys. Another episode of Cycling in Alignment where I'm walking through the neighborhood like a crazy person, talking into a microphone. And let's get started. This evening, I thought I would speak to you about the topic of meditation. And before you hit stop, because meditation is a scary topic, just hear me out for a couple minutes. If you're a person who really doesn't like the idea of meditation or the topic of meditation, or you think meditation is woo-woo or stupid or for hippies, then maybe just listen for a few minutes, because I'm going to make this very much less on the woo-woo side and more on the practical, grounded side. And if you're thinking, I can't meditate, or I don't know how to meditate, or I don't want to learn how to meditate because it sounds boring as shit, or your preconceived notion is that meditation is about sitting in full lotus position and having not a single thought pass through your skull, well, rest assured that while there may be some systems or teachers who work along those lines, this is not the type of meditation that we'll be discussing tonight. So just hang out for a bit. And if we get a few minutes in and you still think it's stupid, then off you go. It'll be our little secret. Suddenly there are lots of people nearby. There's that crazy guy again, listening to himself talk. It is a little breezy out tonight, so I'm hoping that my magical Nerf protector will insulate this mic from the sound properly. From the sound of the wind, that is. Okay, recollecting myself after I came super close to eating shit on some black ice there. And trying to avoid the 54 people that are all driving past me right now. How am I supposed to be calm and collected and talk about meditation when all these people keep driving near me? Ruining my Zen thing, man. Okay. That was legit. I actually almost seriously wiped out on my face. Did not see that ice. Such are the hazards of walking through Boulder at night in winter. Just goes to show nobody chooses when. So, if you're an experienced meditator, or maybe you're a middle ground meditator, you're a Cat 3 meditator, you might have cat in a window being watched. You might also hopefully learn some things from this line of thinking that I will present. So, buckle your seatbelts. Let's get into it. I find that meditation can be daunting, and the idea of meditation can be elusive. The concept of it, what is it? Let's treat this like a coaching program. The first thing I do whenever I work with someone in fitting or in coaching is I make sure that I understand their goal, their dream goal or objective. Because if you don't hold the client's goal in mind when you're writing them a training program or when you're trying to perform a bike fit, then you're probably fitting a client to the wrong objective. You're going to get off course. Now I'm being stalked by an electric vehicle. This is a weird start to this podcast, I gotta say. Okay, they're no longer stalking me. I swear I'm not normally paranoid. And so we're defining meditation. We're doing our best to define meditation. And I'm far from the world's greatest expert on this topic. So I'm not going to spend too much time going in circles on this, but I would say that we could simply define meditation as any focused, intentional, and inwardly facing experience that improves your state of well-being. Now, that's a very generous and broad definition. And in that definition, we could also include a nice long solo bike ride. Because a solo bike ride could be an inwardly focused activity with intent that improves your state of well-being, your mental well-being, which would also normally impact your physical well-being, by the way. Those are not two separate zip codes. But I think we want to narrow our definition a little more, because as one of my meditation teachers taught me many years ago, cycling, long solo rides, as the example I gave him, he challenged me on that, and he said, a long solo bike ride is not meditation, it is meditative. And the reason that long rides are meditative is because they put you, to some degree, in a trance state. And humans, some would argue, crave a state of trance at times. We crave rhythm. This is the origin of music, right? How does music start? It starts with a beat. So we begin music with a drum, or with a march, or with some sort of rhythmic, regular sound. And then we build on it. We add harmonies and layers and all kinds of other stuff that I don't really know, I have the language for. But I have the experience of it. And so cycling provides that state of trance for us. But that's different than intentionally focusing inward in silence. Because then you're left only with the chatter of your own mind. And if you're like most people, you've got what is known as the monkey mind, which is a mind that just goes and goes and goes and goes. Chitty, chitty, chit chat, as my wife would say. And the monkey mind can obviously be quite problematic for many reasons. There are times when being, we'll say, trapped into the monkey mind, or in the monkey mind, can make you feel like you're going a little bit insane, right? How do you turn off that inner dialogue? How do you stop thoughts from coming? And part of meditation, to expand our definition, would be not about stopping the thoughts. As Paul Chek says, what the mind does is it is in the act of minding, right? That's what a mind does. It minds, meaning it generates thoughts because it's having an experience. And when we have an experience, we process that experience. We reflect on it. We experience the experience. Like when we eat a ginger cookie, we have the experience of gingerness and sweetness and molasses and chewiness in our mind's perception. And that is a thought, right? We may not be thinking the words ginger cookie when we eat it, but we are having an experience of gingerness, of ginger cookiness. Ginger cookies. And so I would offer that, to refine our definition of meditation, it's not only an inward facing activity with intent. It's also ideally done in silence. That's not part of the definition. That's part of the conditions. But it's also an act of accepting thoughts and at an advanced stage, directing thoughts. So accepting thoughts is, the common analogy would be that meditation is an act of treating thoughts like clouds. And as the clouds go by in the sky, you simply watch them. You observe them without judgment. So just as you would a cloud. So you see a cloud and you look at it and it's a cloud. And maybe the cloud looks like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, or maybe it looks like a ginger cookie, or maybe it looks like a cloud, like a fluffy pillow, or a sheep. And you just observe sheep, Tyrannosaurus Rex, fluffy pillow. It's not good or bad. And there's no self-deprecation over the experience of you seeing a Tyrannosaurus Rex in a cloud. You just witness yourself seeing a Tyrannosaurus Rex in a cloud. So this is one of the magical things about meditation, is you observe the observer, right? So when we begin to observe our thoughts without judgment, we witness what's happening in our minds. And as soon as we do that, we put distance between us and our thoughts, which is a really interesting philosophical paradox, because then you have to ask the question, well, if I distance myself from my thoughts, then who's thinking the thoughts who's doing the witnessing? Who's thinking about the me that's doing the thoughts? But now I'm witnessing myself witness myself thinking thoughts. And if you think about it for 3 seconds, you'll realize it's a hall of mirrors. You could witness yourself thinking, and witness the witness, and witness the witness infinitely. This is a paradox of consciousness. It's pretty weird if you think about it. So don't think about it too much, maybe. But this is the state we want to be in meditation. We want to witness ourselves. Why? Why do you want to witness yourself, Pierce? This sounds yucky. I don't like any of this. This is getting into psychology too deeply. I'm starting to get uncomfortable here, man. Well, one reason we want to witness ourselves is because when we witness our thoughts, we put distance between ourselves and our thoughts. We begin to understand that we can have a choice. We can be less reactive. So this is one of the big side effects of meditation, is you can become less reactive in a situation. Michael Holt frequently quotes his teacher, Shinzing Young, who says something like, I might butcher this a little bit or modify it slightly, but I think it's something like, there's a tenth of a second before 3,000 warriors storm the gates. And what's being said there is that when you're reactive, you have only this tiniest sliver in time to stop the war, right? So your spouse says something to you, your friend says something to you that you don't like, or triggers an angry reaction in you. You've got a tenth of a second to stop yourself before you unleash the warriors. And they storm the gate. They storm out of your castle and begin war. And maybe that person said something to provoke war on purpose because they're unhappy, or they had a bad day, or are feeling emotional or vulnerable. Or maybe they just said something that was actually, in their minds, innocent. Or even deeper, maybe they said something that superficially they thought was innocent, but actually was meant to provoke you, but they were unaware of it at a conscious level. Human interactions get quite complicated, as it turns out. So we broaden our definition of meditation, and we ask that you sit, ideally in silence, for a period of time, which doesn't have to be long, but could be, and you direct your thoughts. That would be advanced. You could start with observing thoughts without judgment. That would be entry level. So what I'm going to describe to you is a very simple meditative technique that directs thoughts. So by the parameters I've just laid out, it would be considered advanced. Although I would offer that as someone who's listening to this podcast, someone who's an athlete, you already have many tools at your disposal. And one of those is the power to direct your focus. Athletes are trained at directing focus. We think about athletics as being all VO2 and watts and heart rate. But the reality is, athletics is really about directing focus towards one specific goal. It's about putting everything else out of your mind and doing one thing. The pain that you feel in your legs, the burning you feel in your lungs, the danger your nervous system is experiencing when you hurtle yourself around a corner at 40 miles an hour, wearing nothing but a few $100s in Lycra and a helmet made of styrofoam and maybe gloves. Unless you're a downhill mountain biker. Downhill mountain bikers are simultaneously way smarter than roadies and also way stupider, because they wear way more safety gear, but they also go down shit that is like preposterously Red Bull level. So I would suggest that as an athlete who's probably a competitive athlete, even if you're not and you're simply a cyclist, you got some skills that you can use. You can direct your focus. The difference is, instead of directing it at an external stimulus, like riding a bike up a hill or taking an SAT or passing the bar or trying to get that hot chick to go on a date with you or sprinting to the win at a town limit sign on your local group ride, instead of directing it at some external goal, you focus it inward. And as you witness thoughts, you begin to gently direct them. So here's how I would suggest you direct those thoughts. We're going to work with the breath a bit during this meditation. Oh, here's the wind again. I'm going to try to shield this microphone a bit. And I'm going to give you 8 thoughts that I believe are positive. We'll call them affirmations, although that term might be a bit triggering for some people. We can just call them thoughts. The thing about meditation is people get really turned off by the language around it because it's woo-woo or weird or hippie stuff. So let's just park all that for a moment and just check in and use what we got, right? Let's work with it. Just try it out. If you don't like it, you can always dump it later. It didn't cost you a lot of time. In the abbreviated version, you could do this meditation in about 3 minutes. That'd be pushing it, but you could do it. Even if you did half of the affirmations, that would be better than nothing. Treat this like a movement snack. 30 seconds in a deep isometric lunge is still 30 seconds more than you did if you didn't do it. So when we work with the breath, we're going to work with a very simple rhythm and visualization. When we inhale, we're going to feel our bellies be loose. We're going to feel them expand. almost like you swallowed a basketball. Let your belly hang out. Relax your abs. Right? For a proper inhale, for your diaphragm to descend, your abs have to be relaxed. If your abs are really tight, your diaphragm won't descend. You won't get a full breath. And during this meditation, we want to start to work with that. And if it takes you a bit to get this, just stick with it. And then on the exhale, we're going to lightly, I'll reemphasize this word, lightly contract our pelvic floor. So we're going to squeeze your pelvic floor. You could call that a Kegel. You could visualize holding your urine if you have to pee or if you have to poop. We're going to gently, lightly squeeze the pelvic floor, like 1 or 2 out of 10. 2 is max. So this is not a weightlifting competition. You're not trying to crush anything. You're not trying to crush your saddle or prevent yourself from having diarrhea. It's not anything of that scale. You are gently, lightly contracting your pelvic floor, just enough to feel the action. You do this on exhale and you hold it during the exhale. And then relax on the inhale. Relax the pelvic floor. Relax the abdominals. Let your belly spill out. No one's looking. It's okay if you don't have a perfect bikini body. And as you inhale, visualize the breath traveling from your sacrum up your spine to the crown of your head. And as you exhale, visualize the breath dropping down from the mouth through the voice point or over your Adam's apple, through the heart area, through the solar plexus, down through the belly button, and all the way down to your pelvic floor. So on the way up, it would start at the pelvic floor, go up past the sacrum, the low back, the middle back, between the scapula, the shoulder blades, up the neck, around to the crown of the head. And at the very end, it would come down to just between your eyebrows. And then on the exhale, it would drop down from, we'll say, the face, the mouth, past the throat, the heart, the lower ribs in front, the belly button, the pubic bone, and to the floor of your pelvis. So this is circulating the breath in this oval sort of fashion, right? Up and out the back, down and out the front. Inhale up the back, exhale down the front. It's a very simple pattern. And this is a very ancient breathing technique. And just focusing on this alone can be very relaxing. You'd want to do this in a seated posture in most instances. And you'd want your backs to be straight, with your rib cage stacked over your pelvis. So we're not hunched, we're not sloped, we're not stooped. We have a nice extended spine. And as we sit and breathe in this posture, we can quite easily go through some affirmations. The first of which is, you can say this in your mind, and how I do it is I say it. Why is my phone not working? I'm trying to get to my notes here. Make sure I'm on the right page. There we go. The first is, I am present. And you can say this on the inhale. And if you want, you can pause at the top of the inhale or retain your breath. And then as you exhale, you kind of lock it in. And sometimes I say these very simply in my mind. So this is me directing my thoughts towards these affirmations. My eyes are closed, by the way. We're turning inward. If our eyes are open, we're occupied with the external visual world. When our eyes are closed, we have the opportunity to look inward. And we're meditating, ideally in silence, right? No music, no gongs, no people nearby, no leaf blowers. In a perfect world, although that's not always the case. And we're just thinking, I am present. And what I mean by that is, I'm present in all of my moments of life. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I'm not trying to juggle 4 things at once. I'm not flicking through Instagram in between sets of squats at the gym. I'm not dividing my attention thinking about emails I need to write when I'm having a conversation with my wife about what we're going to have for dinner. I'm not thinking about the ride I'm going to do later this afternoon while I'm sitting in meditation. I'm here in the present right now. And I'm pouring myself into this activity. And if I'm not pouring myself into this activity, then I have to ask myself, why am I doing this activity? Or why am I living in the future? But I digress. These aren't questions we ask ourselves during the meditation. We're just observing our thoughts and directing them. So if you start wandering away from your affirmations, then just bring yourself back. Don't get down on yourself. You're not doing it wrong. You're not failing. You're not a terrible meditator. You're training yourself to direct your thoughts in the way you want them to go. Right? I'm sure we've all had this experience where we've laid down to go to sleep and we start replaying some old memory, some bad memory about, I don't know, something we did that was embarrassing, or some race where we had this catastrophic outcome where we just sucked, or some moment where we said something that we didn't feel was hurtful, but then later we found out it was horribly hurtful to someone we care about. Or who knows, maybe you lost a bunch of money on some bad purchase, or maybe it just fell out of your wallet. You know, like these types of life experiences we've all had. And then at a certain point, you're thinking, like, why the hell am I thinking about this? I don't want to think about this. Well, this is part of what we're training ourselves to do, is redirect our thoughts towards an experience we want to have. And we're not suggesting that we never will have bad experiences in life. Like that's what we're here to do, is have bad experiences in life. We're here to have good and bad experiences. That's what we signed up for. That's why we're here. You don't get to have only the sunny days. You also have to have the cold and windy days and rainy days. That's all part of the package. Right? It's not all rainbows and unicorns. So we're directing our thoughts. So if you fall off the wagon, just put yourself back on it. No judgment, no shame spirals. Just go again. Bring it back. That's what you're doing. You're literally here training your mind to be better about being on task. So we can't be disappointed or surprised when it comes off of task, because that's what we're doing. You're learning. So that's the first affirmation. I am present. And I specifically say it this way to myself. I am present. I don't say I'm going to be present, because that implies that at some future moment I'll get my shit together and be present. And I obviously don't say I was present, or I want to be present, or I think I'll be present, or I will be present, or I'm going to be present. None of those are appropriate. We must choose our language very carefully, especially if we're going to make a meditative experience with intent. We're cultivating something that's actually quite sacred and has potentially powerful implications on your conscious and your subconscious. So treat it with reverence and respect, because you are literally influencing your own psyche and your own mental health, which will then influence all other aspects of your health. So that'd be the first one. I am present. And we can expand on each of these in whatever way it feels authentic to you. So I think about being present in my interactions with other people, in the activities that I perform by myself, the movements that I perform, the things I put in my body. And without getting too far down the rabbit hole, these are some of the bits that I come up with. The second affirmation is, I am healthy. My muscular, respiratory, circulatory, lymphatic, fascial, and endocrine systems are all in perfect health. I might add my organ systems to that list. Now, maybe you might feel like this is being disingenuous because maybe you're injured right now, or maybe you know in some way that you are not healthy. Like maybe your blood values aren't great, your iron levels are low, or maybe you have a tumor in your body, or maybe you have the flu. So you have to be authentic about this. Like, I'm not suggesting anyone lie to themselves, and I'm not also suggesting anyone kind of fabricate a reality. Like, we don't want to walk around in some meditative bliss bunny state where we're telling ourselves a bunch of bullshit. That's not the objective. So if it doesn't feel authentic to you, then I wouldn't say it. But I would also ask why. And most of our lives, we should be able to say, I am healthy, and actually mean it. And it should also reinforce our sense of health. It should reinforce our autonomy and our presence in our health. It should reinforce our experience of being healthy people. So when you have people come around going, oh man, getting old sucks, my fucking back hurts, and man, my knees are shot, my hips are blown, my fucking knee. Like, this language is very powerful. And look, I mean, I'm sure we all have friends that live in this world. Maybe some of you listening do this to yourselves. I really encourage you to listen carefully to your own language and treat it with the utmost respect and reverence, especially when you are talking about and to yourself. This is critical. You must treat yourself with the utmost respect and love, which is the next affirmation. I am loving. Now, this one can be quite challenging for people. Some people might not be able to say this to themselves. Maybe in their own minds they can, maybe not out loud, maybe not at all. And if you can't say this to yourself, if you can't hear these words in your mind without some type of reactive experience or strong emotions, then you've got real work to do. We can say that. And I have sympathy for you. Or empathy. Both, I guess, because there are times in my life where I couldn't say that to myself. Now I certainly can. And I've come a long way in my own little magical healing journey to get there. And it's not always been easy. I mean, what kind of journey would it be if it wasn't easy? Or if it was easy, rather. Wouldn't really be a journey at all, would it? So that's the first thing I'll say about that. But when I do say to myself, I am loving, and I reflect on the dimensions of that statement, what comes to me is, first of all, I am loving to myself. That's always first. And some people might think that's selfish, but the proper order is I, we, all. You put on your own oxygen mask first. This is actually undisputable. And then you care for others. Only by being loving to yourself and treating yourself with respect and care can you be the best husband, father, brother, sister, wife, mother, daughter, son, uncle, grandfather, grandmother, friend. Insert occupation here, whatever it is you do: coach, bike fitter, lawyer, mailman, whatever. And if you're following your passion and your drive in your life, then this is, what else is there besides pouring yourself into an activity? If you need inspiration on this topic, see the entire country of Japan. So the third affirmation would be, I am loving to myself, my family, my friends, my colleagues, the students and teachers in my life, the people I interact with. Ultimately, when you continue to expand this line of thought, you come to all people, that is every single human on earth, and all living creatures, every single one on earth. Now, I don't want you to get this confused with some like vegan agenda. That's not what I'm saying. Because in case you missed the memo, life is an act of consumption. And you must consume life force to have life force. So if you want to be alive, you have to consume living things. And if you don't think plants are alive, then you're a dumbass. Vegans kill just like meat eaters do. You kill other things to eat them. That's how it works. Oh, and by the way, plants are fed off of carnivorous matter on a microscopic level. That's also a thing that people know. So there's that. Sorry, rabbit hole there. Ooh, nail polish. Toxic. So interesting, the stuff you smell when you walk around a neighborhood. What are you people doing? What are you people doing? And then we continue to expand our lovingness to not just things that we think are living, like animals, like rabbits and cute stuff, like kittens, but all living creatures, including plants. And, well, if you want to go Rudolf Steiner on some shit, he claimed that anything with an inside and an outside has a soul. So if we pretended that we were German for a moment and that we studied Rudolf Steiner, we would actually love rocks and the whole planet and even every star in the cosmos. And the point of this, this may sound quite out there and cosmic and, trippy or whatever, which is fine with me. I don't really care. And you might be thinking, dude, you are high as a motherfucking kite, which I'm not at the moment, for the record. But this might seem like a lot and super woo, and that's fine. But the point is also that when we direct our thoughts in this way, it helps us place ourselves within the grandeur of nature, the scale of the cosmos, the universe. And some people might take that in a way where they feel small, but I don't. To me, this makes me feel, or helps me feel, actually, in a weird way, like I have the proper scale and the proper place. I'm not really doing a good job of verbalizing this, but that's what I get out of it. Recently on my Instagram feed, I came across this old Monty Python song where he sings about how you're just a little speck of human on a galaxy that's 3 trillion miles wide. Da, 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 da. It's a pretty funny song. Anyway, if you feel so inclined to go spelunking on the internet and search Monty Python, I don't know, cosmic song or something, you'll find it. It's worth a giggle. The fourth affirmation: my actions are perfect. Another way to say this would be wu wei, or perfect action. And how I think about this is, in everything I do, I strive to move perfectly within my environment. And movement has powerful implications on the conservation of my energy, how well I will perform a task. It also ties into how present I am during that task. So I read an article a few years ago in Bicycling, on Richard Sachs and how he worked his whole career to have the perfect frame building experience, where every miter came out perfect, every moment of brazing, every single fleck of paint was perfectly applied, evenly applied. And this was his objective. And it was a really nice article. I'm also sure you could find this on the internet, although it might be paywalled. I have no idea. But I would try Bicycling Richard Sachs interview frame building or something like that, or perfect frame building, something like that. And this inspired me to think about my bike fitting in a certain way. And I began to count, for example, the number of times that you drop a tool. Now, when you work with someone for 5 or 6 hours on a bike fit, there's a lot of opportunities to drop a tool, right? But every tool drop is, well, it's a moment of inaction, or rather a moment of imperfect action or inattention. And again, the point isn't to beat yourself up or hold yourself to some standard of perfectionism. That's not what this is about at all. It's more about observing how present you are in the moment. And it's like playing a game. Like, how perfect can I make these actions? How much intent can I have in every turn of that Allen wrench? And what will the end product be for the client if I'm that present and that aligned with that experience? I mean, are we not here to serve others? Not everyone is, but apparently I am. So know your purpose. Know thyself. The fifth affirmation that comes to me when I describe a meditation is, I act with discernment. And by that I mean my decisions are considered and executed with autonomy and agency. So I'm not going to spend money on shit I don't need. I'm not going to say things that aren't helpful, aren't constructive. I don't mean constructive in the sense of like positive reinforcement, like, yeah, go get him, Tiger. What I mean is, aren't constructive in building the matrix of ideas that are in my mind into the physical world. When we speak, we are literally casting spells. We must choose our words carefully. When I act with discernment, I carefully regulate my energy in the world. There are certain people who will see you as a source of strength. And sometimes these people are themselves depleted and can also be therefore depleting, so they can suck the life out of you. When we act with discernment, we cut off that exchange. We sense it coming and we end it, so that we don't end up just charging someone else's battery. Their job is to charge their battery. That's not my job. And if they can't figure out how to cultivate their own vital life force, well, I'm not going to sit here and inflate their tires up to 70 psi with my own energy. I'm going to let them figure that out. So acting with discernment, this is a powerful affirmation or statement that we can make. Maybe other things come to you when I say these affirmations. And if that's the case, that's perfectly okay. It's also fine to simply say the affirmation and not expand further. That's what I meant when I said this meditation could be very short. You could sit, close your eyes, focus on the breath, and simply repeat a few of these affirmations as they come to you. And then seal it off, as it were, meaning acknowledge that the work you've done is complete and has helped you. Even if it's only 3 minutes, that's better than 0 minutes. And then you open your eyes and begin your day. Even if you did only that, coming from no meditation or random monkey mind, this will improve your life. You are reshaping your own mental landscape with intent. That is extremely powerful. Don't underestimate that. The power that has on shaping your psyche and influencing your universe. When you walk through the world and you tell yourself that you are loving and you act with discernment and your actions are perfect, these are powerful statements. I mean, as the old saying goes, like, tell someone they're an idiot long enough, they'll believe it. That's not really a saying, it's an example, but there's some sort of saying that I'm thinking of that goes like this, right? I'm sure you know what I mean. And so we're just sitting down with intent and we're just directing our thoughts in a positive manner. We're creating a positive internal kingdom. I mean, how can you not do this? That's the question I would ask. Practice also doesn't have to be formalized. You don't even have to call it meditation. You can close your eyes and do this just about any time. Just don't do it while you're driving a car or riding a bike. Not the best time. So not any time. But the sixth affirmation that I use would be, and these aren't in any order, by the way. They're just the order that I wrote them down in. When I do my own meditation, I let them come to me. I receive my prayer. The sixth is, my timing is perfect. And what I mean by that is, I will always be in the right place at the right time. Even if I'm, air quotes, late. Every second, every minute, every hour of my day, I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm also in alignment with ultradian, circadian, solar, lunar, annual rhythms, seasonal rhythms. My timing is perfect. The next one is simply that I am perfect as I am. I engage in the process of life and grow, learn, and progress. This is about being gentle with ourselves. This is about understanding that the human experience is about making mistakes. It's about avoiding beating yourself up for old experiences or old behaviors, old patterns, whatever it may be. Getting fired from a job, being an alcoholic, abusing drugs, abusing porn, spending too much money shopping for stupid crap, ruining a relationship. I mean, these are just human experiences. And we have to look back on our history and look at our present and understand that we are exactly as we should be. And all those hard lessons were lessons that are there for a reason. They're to help us grow and be better people. And I don't mean that in like a God has a cosmic plan kind of way. I mean it in it's more like natural law from my mind, which maybe is the same thing as someone who would explain that through divinity. But I don't know, I can't see into that person's mind. But for me, it's like humans are here. We're here to figure things out and help each other. And so you figure there's got to be a puzzle we have to solve. that puzzle is all this weird shit that life gives us, like waiting in line at the DMV or trying to navigate buying a plane ticket during COVID. Good God. Remember, it was like an hour of documentation and weird shit you have to upload on like 6 different platforms with like 19 fingerprints. Do you remember that? Thank God we're out of that era. Holy crap. The final one is perhaps a bit more obtuse, but it's a simple recognition of life force that we've been gifted. And the way I recognize this with a bit of respect and reverence is to simply say, I breathe and I am breathed, which is a weird word. I am breathed, meaning there's something about breath that is involuntary and it just happens to you. That is life force coming into you. That is vital life force expressing itself in your living being. And there's something kind of magical about that. So this is a nice way to close off the meditation, because if you've been breathing, like we talked about, in this circulatory pattern, up and out the back, down and out the front, and we finish off by coming back to the breath, then we sort of come full circle, so to speak. I hope you find these thoughts on meditation a bit helpful. As I said, you could sit with this practice for an extended period of time if you were inclined and really dig into it, really experience it. You could also abbreviate this practice and make it quite efficient. I find that on mornings where I'm rushed and I don't have a lot of time to do my own practice, even just sitting for a few minutes and running through these affirmations helps me feel grounded, helps me prepare for the day, just gives me a touch point before I go into the world. So I hope you find it useful in your own practice. And if you've never meditated before, maybe it's a starting point for you. And if you have some experience meditation, or maybe you've got a lot of experience meditation, then maybe this is a different perspective for you to integrate into your practice and you'll find it helpful. Next time I'll talk more about bike riding specifically. I don't know about what yet, but I've got a bunch of topics lined up, so I'm sure the right topic will come for us at the right time. But my lips don't work so well because I'm pretty cold now. Thank you for listening. As per usual, I would simply ask that you think critically, pedal consciously, and act intuitively. Thank you for everyone who has contributed to the podcast. I'm very grateful for your perspective, or rather your contributions and your consideration. Be well. Today's quote from the Tao Te Ching: "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding." Attention, well dippers. Did you know that I offer a unique service at my studio in Boulder, Colorado? An integrative fitting is the culmination of my experience and understanding that helps an athlete have a deeper insight into their relationship to cycling and movement. This is understood in the context of how the dream, goal, or objective aligns the client's choices and habits. The psyche, the environment, and drive will all influence the current expression of athletic ability. As we understand these factors, we can shape and direct athletic potential. What this means in a practical sense is that we spend about 6 hours working together, including a short or outdoor ride. We will film you on and off the bike, and we will discuss an extensive intake questionnaire. You will leave the fitting with a unique perspective on your function and with actionable pathways to improve your performance. This service was created specifically to help cyclists who have been through various fitting sessions and have had unsuccessful or unsatisfactory results. We dig deeper to find more meaningful outcomes. If you are interested in knowing more about an integrative fitting, please visit my website, colbypierce.com, where you can book an appointment. Epilogue. I want to share a few brief thoughts about the inception of cycling and alignment. The purpose of this podcast is for me to get 3.5 decades of hard-fought lessons out of my skull. Some of them through my own research and reading. Some of them I've been taught through mentors and colleagues, other riders, other racers. A lot of it, a massive amount of it, was simply trial and error through my own stubborn methods. And that has amassed a certain amount of experience and knowledge, understanding. And while I think I'm reasonably smart and I know quite a bit of stuff, I want to make it clear that the opinions that I share on this podcast are belief systems built on what I've experienced to this point. And that some of those opinions are pretty strong, but they are also loosely held. That is to say that if I learn more about a topic and have a greater level of clarity or understanding, then my old belief systems will be abandoned and I will now operate under that newfound knowledge. So I'm not here to tell people all the things that I know. I'm here to explain what I've learned to this point. And there's a big difference. Also, that is the intent when I discuss things on the pod with guests, is to learn from them and have a discourse. Because if we can't have a discourse as adults, then we've lost one of the basic tenets of modern society. Even if we disagree, we ought to be able to, in most cases, shake hands and walk away. Because after all, this is sport we're talking about, and while sport is training for life, it's nothing to get too upset over. The purpose of the podcast is to help me help other people, and specifically to help them actualize their highest potential by illuminating a path that enables alignment with their truth, their intent, and their coherence. That's really the end goal. So I'm grateful for your listening. My intent is also not, to be clear, to gain an audience or become popular or gain social status in any way. I don't care about that stuff. That said, if you feel an episode that you have heard will help someone you know, please share it with them. That helps us reach the end goal, which is to help more people. Thank you for listening. I'm grateful for your time and attention. Blessings.